windshield washer reservoir. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks, and we check the level by looking through the container. Then we have the power steering reservoir. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. We would check the level by checking the dipstick and see that the fluid is above the add line. Then we have the engine oil dipstick. We would check that and see that the engine oil is above the add line. You're not going to actually take it out and check it, you're just going to say that.
You're just going to say it, yes.
Yeah. Then we have the air compressor. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. The air compressor is not belt driven, it's going to be gear driven.
Okay.
Then we have the steering box. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. Then we have the steering shaft, which is properly mounted and also properly greased. Then we have the pitman arm, which is properly mounted and no missing or loose bolts. Then we have the steering linkage, which is properly mounted and also properly greased. And it's attached by the cotter pin, castle nut and cotter pin, which is one here, and another castle nut and cotter pin here, properly mounted and secured.
Okay.
All right, so that's everything on the driver's side. Now
what's that one?
This is the coolant reservoir.
The coolant reservoir.
Coolant reservoir, yeah.
Okay.
Or the overflow for the antifreeze.
Okay.
All right. All right. Now we'll go over to the passenger side. Okay, we have the alternator. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks. The alternator is belt driven. The belt has no cuts or frays and has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. Then we have the AC compressor. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. It's also belt driven, and again the belt has no cuts or frays and no more than 3/4 inch play. And down below that we have the water pump, which is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. It's also belt driven. And again, the belt has no cuts or frays and no more than 3/4 inch play. Then we have the engine fan, properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. The fan blades have no cracks in them. It's also belt driven, and again, the belt has no cuts or frays and no more than 3/4 inch play. All right, so that completes the engine compartment. Now, since the hood is open, we'll do over here, which is this is the steering axle, which is again suspension, brakes, and tire. So we have the leaf springs. There's no cracked or missing springs, and there's no excessive rusting. Then we have the U-bolts, which are mounted around the leaf springs. All the bolts are tight and none are missing or loose. We have the front leaf spring hanger. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts or cracks. Then we have the rear leaf spring hanger, properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts or cracks. Then we have the shock absorber. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, and it has no cracks or leaks. Now the braking system, we have the brake chamber. It's properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks, dents, or air leaks. Then we have the slack adjuster, and the push rod is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, and it has no more than 1 inch of play. Then we have the brake hose, which is properly mounted, no cuts or frays in the hose, and no air leaks. Inside the tire, we have the brake drum, which is properly mounted, no cracks, no grease or oil around it, and no excessive rusting. Then we have the brake shoes and the brake lining, which is properly mounted, no cracks, no grease or oil around it, and the brake shoes have more than 15% of brake life. All right, now the tire, we have the inside wall of the tire, there's no cuts or bubbles. The outside wall of the tire, no cuts or bubbles. We would check the tread depth of the tire. The front tire should have no less than 4/32 of an inch. The tread is wearing evenly, and the front tire cannot be recapped. All right, then we have the lug nuts. They're all tight, none are missing or loose, and there's no rust trails around the lug nuts. Our rim is properly mounted, no cracks, dents, illegal welds, or excessive rusting. Then we have the hub seal, which is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts, no cracks or leaks. Then you would check the air pressure of the tire, and we should have no less than 100 pounds of pressure in the tire. All right, so that completes the steering axle. All right, now we'll do the front of the vehicle. All right, so the front, we start up top. We have the clearance lights. They're all working. There's no cracks in the lens. They're properly mounted, and they're the proper color for the front, which is amber. Then we have the windshield wipers. There's good tension on the wipers. Our registration is up to date. Our emissions inspection is up to date. Our highway tax sticker is up to date, and our heavy vehicle inspection sticker is up to date. The headlights, they're both working. There's no cracks in the lens, properly mounted. Our turn signals in the front, they're working. No cracks in the lens, properly mounted. Our front bumper is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. Our front license plate is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. Then we look underneath the tractor, make sure there's no puddles, and the tractor is sitting level, it's not leaning to the left or to the right.
Okay.
All right, now we'll continue down the side. We have the side front marker light. It's working, no cracks in the lens, properly mounted. Our side turn signal is properly working, no cracks in the lens. Our mirror brackets, they're mounted correctly and they're bolted to the tractor. There's no missing or loose bolts. Our passenger door, it's in good working order. It opens and closes correctly. And our door hinges are properly mounted and secured. Our fuel tank, there's no cracks or leaks around the tank. The fuel tank brackets are around the fuel tank and they're bolted to the frame, no missing or loose bolts. The steps are properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. The exhaust is properly mounted to the tractor, there's no missing or loose bolts. Our muffler, properly mounted, no cracks or illegal welds in the muffler. And the brackets are bolted to the frame, no missing or loose bolts. The frame itself has no cracks, no illegal welds, and no excessive rusting. Then we have the drive shaft. It's properly mounted, no cracks, no illegal welds or excessive rusting. We have the catwalk area. It's properly mounted to the frame and no missing or loose bolts. All right, now the coupling system. We have the red line, which is the emergency air line. It's connected to the tractor, and the glad hand is coupled to the trailer. There's no cuts or frays in the line and no air leaks. Blue is going to be our service air line. It's connected to the trailer, to the tractor rather, and the glad hand is coupled to the trailer. There's no cuts or frays in the line and no air leaks. Green is going to be our electrical line, which is connected to the tractor and also to the trailer, and there's also no cuts or frays in the line. Now to finish the coupling system, we have to do the fifth wheel. So here, this bracket here is the sliding fifth wheel bracket. It's in the lock position. All the bolts are tight, none are missing or loose. There's no daylight or space between the trailer and the fifth wheel. The fifth wheel is properly greased. Trailer apron is properly welded to the bottom of the trailer. Then over there we have the fifth wheel locking lever. It's in the lock position, no missing or loose bolts, and it's in good working order. All right, now we'll go to the back of the fifth wheel. So you look in between the fifth wheel and say that the locking jaws are locked around the kingpin, and the kingpin is in good condition and properly mounted to the trailer. Now since we're down here, you mentioned that the tail lights and the hazard lights are working in the back. The rear tractor plate is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. And our mud flaps in the back are properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. Okay. Now if they ask you to do the drive axle, it'll be the same thing that you did for the steering axle. You gotta check the suspension, the brakes, and the tire. The only thing that's different is the back tires, the tread depth can be as low as 2/32 of an inch. And then with the dual tires, you want to look in between them, make sure there's no debris stuck in there, and also that the tires aren't touching each other.
Okay.
All right, so now we have trailer components, which would be everything on the side and under the trailer. We have the DOT reflective tape that's properly mounted to the side of the trailer. Our landing gear is in the up position. All the brackets are properly bolted to the frame. There's no missing or loose bolts. On the other side of the trailer, we have the crank for the landing gear. It's in the lock position, no missing or loose bolts. Our side turn signal is working on the trailer, no cracks in the lenses, properly mounted. We have our trailer frame, no cracks, no legal welds, no excessive rusting. And then we have the trailer cross members, all right, properly mounted, no cracks, no legal welds, no excessive rusting. On the other side of the trailer, in front of the tire, there's a handle, which is for the tandem release. You know what that?
The tandem release?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. See this rail with the holes?
Yes.
You can slide the axles up or back on the trailer.
Okay.
That's called the and the handle over there is the release arm, so you can slide the axles.
Okay.
Which opens up these. See this pin here?
Yes.
That's where it's locked right now.
Okay.
So if I pull the handle out, the pin is going to go in on all sides.
And you can slide.
And you can slide it. So you would say the tandem release is in the lock position, no missing or loose bolts, and it's in good working order.
Okay.
Now, if they ask you to do the trailer axles, again, you would repeat suspension, brakes, and tire.
Okay.
Our rear mud flap is properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. Our rear marker light is properly mounted, it's in good working order. Up top, we have our clearance lights. They're all working, no cracks in the lens, and they're the proper color for the back, which is red. Our gate is all the way down, it's latched and secured. Tail lights and hazard lights are working, no cracks in the lens. Our trailer license plate properly mounted, no missing or loose bolts. Our safety bar is properly mounted, and our DOT reflective tape in the back is properly mounted. Now, the driver's side, if you do this side, it's the same thing as the,
other side.
The only thing that's different, here, just to show you, that's the tandem release.
Oh, that's the tandem release? Okay.
Crank for the landing gear.
Okay.
But on this side, on the other side, we have the fuel tank. Here we have the battery compartment.
The battery compartment.
You would say all the terminals are tight to the batteries and there's no corrosion around the terminals.
Okay.
And that's the whole outside inspection.
Okay.
All right. All right. Any questions with that?
No.